Hello, I'm Hogne, and today in this health conversation, I, together with Erik-Alexander Richter, will talk about one very important organ in the body, the heart. So today we are going to talk about a healthy heart and how a healthy heart is working. We know that the heart is more or less the key organ. And if the heart is not working, it's a lot of other things that do not work. And in this animation, we see that the heart is a big muscle that is pumping blood around in the body. The blood from the left ventricle is pumped out in the body and gives an oxygen to all the tissues all over the place. The left part of that is the right heart. And the left part is then pumping blood out to the lungs to get oxygen. So we secure that we have a circulation of blood with oxygen going into all the tissues and blood that has given away the oxygen and is filled up with CO2 coming back to the lungs will get new oxygen and again will go out in the body. So therefore, if the heart is not working, we have problems with oxygen and energy to all the cells in the body. And when we talk about cardiovascular diseases and risk for diseases, it is not only the heart that may be deficient in efficiency, but also the arteries that is taking blood away from the heart, and the veins that taking blood into the heart. But Erik, the heart then also works on other parts of the body. So in the next slide, you can explain a little what happens here.
Yeah, we always focus on this very, very small particle, the red blood cell, because if that one is healthy, at least now we can distribute it throughout the body and to use it as an exchange tool to take out CO2 and bring in fresh oxygen and all that. And every time we use a muscle or the brain or the eye or the liver or any tissue in the body needs to be provided with fresh oxygen, and the CO2, whatever is the left product from the energy metabolism, needs to be taken out. And if you can work this well, it really is fantastic how this system works. Actually, miracles. When you explained before this heart with all these little tiny the valves and the soft tissues, we now also understand that if these starts to harden and if this starts to calcify, it will be very, very difficult to do the proper function, to keep the capacity as it is supposed to be. But I also want to mention or repeat again, some people think it's just the heart is doing the pumping, but it is actually the whole system, all the arteries also have some sort of a pump function because there are big muscular layers. And we have to understand that the red blood cells what go into these big arteries, they don't exchange oxygen for that artery directly, but there is a whole network of capillaries in this wall, in these arteries. And only if those are clean and if these red blood cells are supple enough with the high index of 8, they can squeeze in themselves, and that just improves the capacity of your pump. Because if this thing on the lower left corner is not working properly, then people are wondering, I'm getting out of breath. Is my physical shape that bad, or is just the exchange of oxygen and CO2 not doing what it should do? And this never happens overnight. This is the effect of many, many years, starting as a young kid, on the left side, and it says active lifestyle versus passive, but it looks pretty passive to me. This is like a laying inflammatory disease, I would almost say.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but if you go one picture back again, because we normally are talking about that we need healthy arteries and a healthy heart. But as you mentioned, in order to have a healthy heart, also the oxygenation of the muscle cells in the heart muscle need to be in place,
Yes.
and the oxygenation of the muscle cells, smooth muscle cells in the arteries must be in place. And that is just what you talked about, that the capillaries need to be sufficient open and clean. And when we talk about cardiovascular diseases, it's not only that we have calcification on the inner side, making it difficult to get blood and oxygen out to all the tissue, but it also has a problem then with the capillaries that don't let the pumping of the heart work functionally, and the pumping, as you talked about with the arteries, works physiologically. And what we really see is that people with a high blood pressure, they have stiff arteries with a very bad oxygenation of the arterial wall, so they don't have this normal physiological pumping in the arterial wall. So this is something we realize. So the easy way is to say you have a high blood pressure because your blood vessel doesn't work as they should, but that is the result of a lifestyle and a long-term impact on the circulation system. So now we
Yeah.
can take the next picture.
Yeah, this higher blood pressure is like an emergency situation for the body. The heart doesn't like it that much, but it needs to. Otherwise, certain tissues don't get the oxygen, and then we are in big trouble. So the high blood pressure is not due to the lack of high blood pressure medication. It is because we're losing the capacity and of the arteries to do what they should do, and the capillaries as a
Correct.
result of. Yeah.
Yeah, and here we see that whatever we do, if you just watch television and just are lazy, don't use this fantastic creation that the body is, then you end up to be uh, overweight. And this people that we have a picture of here also is a representative for people that don't use the body. And you see then this reflects how we believe the circulation system inside these bodies looks like. There we have people that do not use the body, do not train the circulation system. They very easily receive stiff arteries, they receive very bad capillaries, and they are more prone to have cardiovascular diseases.
And we have to understand you don't have to have this huge amount of overweight to be unhealthy. Some people are thin but have a fatty liver disease and have sort of the same problems. It just looks outside like, oh, you're this great body shape and thin and you have to be healthy. But that's not necessarily true. But we do know that if people have the overweight and have the passive lifestyle, just laying, watching TV and doing funny stuff, that's okay. It's so much better to join into some groups. And here you can see that, especially in Asia, they bring these elderly people together for the social engagement and to do this exercise because it's more fun to do it combined than just by yourself, I assume. But the
And this
biggest,
is and that is something that to commit yourself to some good friends or a group that you would like to do something to maintain your good body, making it possible to have a fun life. That is why it's so good to do it in a group. And the guy laughing in the left, in the lower
right corner.
corner, of course he has fun, but you see he also need to do something with his body in order to have fun for a long life.
You can see the high blood pressure in his face. Very obvious.
Yeah, I
Okay?
think so. So and that is nothing to laugh of, to be honest.
Not
When you
not
are,
exactly. No, not exactly.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so the biggest pieces of or sources of poison, so to say, is smoking. I think everybody knows about that. It is drinking. Drinking more and more, we're figuring out that the less you drink, the better it is. In talking about alcohol, obviously, and not sleeping, because people who tend to stay up very late and eat funny stuff and drink and smoke and watch TV and are not involved in physical exercise, you may look as slim as this guy, no overweight, But that's not a guarantee that you won't wake up in the morning, mostly Monday morning somehow, and then figuring out that something went wrong during the night.
Hmm.
And then somebody is checking up on you. But have you done this many times as a doctor?
This is when you uh, meet people that realize, yes, I have some bodily problems. I would like to do something with it. And the youngest person I've seen with a cardiovascular attack or myocardial infarction, that was a 27-year-old fisherman that has a very stressful life out in the sea, was smoking, drinking coffee, not sleeping, and really his circulation system gave a message. But what we see on this picture is that when people then realize at different points in life that they need some help, my health is not as good as it used to be, then they very often go into the healthcare system, and then you can diagnose that the body doesn't work as it should. But too often we end up then to give people drugs to try to change the symptoms, but in fact we do not give advices for how you could change your lifestyle to reduce the physical problems you have, and perhaps even get rid of some of these problems without taking any drugs.
Yeah, and you call it, and that's the official name. It's called healthcare system, but basically it's sick care because you come in because you're sick, and then they gave you all kind of drugs to make your life kind of okay living with this disease or sickness. But many of them are diseases, and by changing your lifestyle, you can make the drugs abundant. But I can imagine for you as a doctor, many times I tell the people I couldn't be a doctor or a cardiologist, even if I wanted to be. But I couldn't because as a cardiologist, you have these people with this terrible lifestyle. They drag in their bodies because the doctor sent them over to the cardiologist and tell, you know what? Give me the pill. Don't touch my food or my drinks. That's my lifestyle. I want to continue that, but just give me a pill so I can survive my own lifestyle. Hasn't that been frustrating for you as well? Because not everybody wants to participate in their health.
Yeah, but this is one of the main reasons that my main working task for the last 30 years has been to advise people that are concerned about health and what they can do by themselves to stay healthy. So, of course, we will help people that have had a disease, but it's extremely meaningful to try to coach people, help people, what should be the best advices for us to have a good life. And then that includes that we can do a lot ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is the whole idea with ecology, that for people that are concerned about health and would like to have a healthy life and all the advantages follow with that, that is why you and I are here in this company.
Yeah, being part of the big healthy family. And we also have to realize, now I show a guy laying there, but we also have to realize that women have some similar, but also some different symptoms from the same heart problems. With all the research is done on man, and they will say, oh yeah, you have a heart problem. And with women, if they feel a bit different, like they could have, be very fatigued, have sleep disturbances, have some other uncomfortable stuff, dizziness, and like that. And I would say, oh yeah, you got stress. But then we do not recognize that they really have had maybe a heart attack or a heart problem. We can also see the differences where it happens. And it is kind of late research where you can see that the big arteries around the heart are more susceptible with the man, whereas with the women, it's more the smaller ones to make sure the heart gets sufficient amount of oxygen, as you explained very well in the beginning, how important that is. But if you look at this picture, what could you tell the people?
Yeah, yeah, and I think this is very often the situation when a person come to the doctor and ask, what should I do? And if we then see a picture of an artery like this with this plaque inside the artery, of course this is a generation of fat, normally of mirror an unhealthy living style with eating unhealthy, eating too much sugar, exercising too little, and then also you reduce the volume and the lumen inside the artery. And what should then the solution be? And again, if this is a picture for a young person, a lot can be done if you then say, okay, I see this is a serious change in your body, but if you know, try to be physical active, you change to eating habits, and you do so and so, then this will reverse some of these changes, and you don't need to go into this medical trap to end up with one tablet and need another tablet to take away the adverse event of that tablet, and so on. So I guess that this is a picture where we have different way to resolve the problem, and the ecology way is a little more demanding because it requires some initiative and activity from yourself. But that is why we are talking about what we can do for a healthy heart ourselves.
Yeah, if you look at the left image, you can see these HDL and LDL particles, and there is many more. You got very low density and high density, intermediate density, and these are all families. Now with the LDL, the little orange bubble you can see where the line says it's a very thin, a small particle, and you can see some bigger ones as well. So to understand a little bit why people get this plaque in the inside, so not in the lumen as what you just mentioned, but like through this arterial wall, that happens because today with the stressful life people have, and with the bad food they take, they may have something what we call a leaky gut, and the leaky gut kind of opens, that's down there, and that opens the gateway for parasites and viruses and bacteria and whatever you don't want to have in the bloodstream. But because of the stress and because of the bad food, this get damaged, and then there's little openings in between these cells, and these pathogens, so to say, they can go all over in the place. And now it's the function of the immune system to take them out. And part of the immune system is your cholesterol. So we have all these different particles. It's a huge amount of different ones. Now the LDLs, we call it bad, but they're not necessarily bad because they have a function. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. And but the LDL are there to catch these bacteria, and that is great. That's fantastic. So they move them. They're very small, and you can see if you follow this yellow line and then the inner lining, you can see the little openings in between cells, and these tiny LDL particles can take out the bacteria and move them out of the bloodstream in a secure place. But if you do not stop the leaky gut and it continues to go on, then there is more input than time to take it out, because monocytes and all kind of different white blood cells will take care about that. But they just, they become fluffy cells, and then this gets thicker and thicker. Now again, look at these LDL particles. On the left side, you got these large LDL particles. They're completely fine. They don't do any harm. They continue to move around in the lumen because they cannot squeeze themselves inside. So what we call bad cholesterol is the end stage of eating bacteria, taking bacteria. It's not like eating, but like trapping bacteria and bringing them outside the bloodstream. But you have to realize that it's a mathematical calculation how to determine the amount of LDL, but it doesn't make a difference between the dense, small LDL particles or the large, fluffy ones. And the large, fluffy ones are not dangerous at all. But you have to fix your gut. So it's important to understand a little bit this.
And also when you look at this picture, we know more and more about the leaky gut, that if we then get these bacteria into the bloodstream and also into the foam cells and the lipid that is generated in the wall of the arteries, then very often you end up with an abruption. It will be a hole in this membrane into the lumen, and then you suddenly have an occlusion of the artery. So therefore, when you talk about a myocardial infarction and also other occlusions of arteries, it is more or less that these foam cells or the atherosclerotic plaque, they just explode and totally stop circulation in an artery, and then also stop the oxygenation of the tissue that is dependent upon oxygen from this artery. So this everything is connected with everything. So
And this
healthy
is
diet.
why this omega-3 stuff is so important. Exactly what you say. If there is a lot of omega-6 and we measure them, and some have 20, 30, 40 times more omega-6 than 3. Now this inflammatory yellow foamy stuff becomes very reactive. And that's how they push this thrombus out. Whereas if you would have an equal amount of omega-3 and 6, the plaque remains where it is, but it stabilizes. And at the same time, now the body gets some time to take it away little by little. It'll take a while, but at least it's not highly dangerous. That's where this ratio comes in very, very importantly. Right? But then let's move. This is cholesterol in the inside of the arterial wall, so outside the lumen and in between the different layers, the intima, media, and adventitia. That's what they call it. So now you go to your specialty, and that shows that is the arterial plaque, but then the kind of inside, which is the calcification, okay, which is a different cause, many times a side effect of the use of medicine. What can you say about this?
And this is where you have talked about the importance of the omega-3 and the omega-6, omega-3 balance. And here comes the big advantage of the vitamin K, the K2, because when you then try to repair some of the damages of the inside, the endothelium layer in the artery, then it generates a lot of calcium in this area. And that is where vitamin K2 comes in order to secure that we do not have a generation, an accumulation of calcium when we make these healing procedures. And at the same time, we also know that we need sufficient amount of magnesium in this process. So without sufficient vitamin K2, without sufficient magnesium in the circulation, we ends up with not only this reduced lumen because of the fat cells inside the wall of the artery, but also an accumulation of calcium that makes the arterial wall stiffer. And it's also an accumulation of calcium in the smooth muscle cells in the arterial wall, making the whole artery more or less a stiff pipe and not a flexible artery that can pump around the blood inside. So here we see an example that the combination of omega-3, magnesium, and K2 are mandatory, so important to have healthy arteries.
And it's good to understand that if people do take drugs against cholesterol, the statin drugs, the lower cholesterol, that one of these side effects is actually atherosclerosis by more calcium. And the second drug, there more go for two names. Warfarin is a family, and the other family is acenocumaril. And they also they make the blood thinner. It's an anticoagulant, but they also stimulate atherosclerosis by calcium deposits. So be careful with those. Okay. Okay. So what do we have to do now? Let's get into action. What are the alternatives? If you feel that, first of all, you always have to be physical active. That's the one thing. If your doctor tells you something is wrong with the heart, you still have to be physical active, but don't go crazy stuff. So it's physical activity. It's the combination with healthy foods, with omega-3s. Of course, you can take our product with raw, unprocessed olive oils, with real nuts, not oils from seeds, but like the real nuts. You'd also need some linoleic acid, a healthy lifestyle. And then if you have sufficient amount of these omega-3, either from fish or our oil, but I would suggest the combination. And then you can see how this omega-3 bringing it up into a balance. You still need the 6, but you need to raise the omega-3, how this has a whole lot of cardioprotective mechanisms. It stabilizes the plaque in the middle. That's what I said. The thrombus, as you mentioned, should not pop out, just stay there. Okay, now it's safe. So that's the plaque stabilization. Anti-thrombotic, so the platelets in the blood do not start to clog up and make bigger fiber stuff, so the thing closes down. The anti-inflammatory and resolving molecules, that's where the EPA and DHA for the resolving comes in. The endothelial dysfunction, so the cells get the oxygenation better, the anti-arrhythmic. That's the stuff we talked about recently about some of these pharmaceutical drugs where they use the ethyl esters. And if you take those in a high doses, then you may just get the arrhythmic things. Whereas if you take the natural one, it just works as the opposite. Anything you can add to this?
No, I think it's this picture just visualize that we have a lot of knowledge of what kind of food that is good for your heart. And in fact, most people intuitively know that what I'm eating now is a good, healthy diet, and what I'm taking now is not so healthy. So it's never that it's totally black and white. It's need to be a balanced intake of these elements. So just as you, Eric, said, that cholesterol in itself is not dangerous. And omega-6 in itself, it's not dangerous. It's the amount and the balance we are talking about. And when to again underline what you said about the omega-3, the natural triglyceride omega-3s that we have in our products are not dangerous at all. But if you then make too much, help the nature too much with the manipulation of the products, then we can end up with these kind of problems, as you just mentioned. So therefore, again, by eating healthy and balanced, this is good for your heart. And in the next picture, as we talked about, this is what we intuitively know. The body need water. We need vegetables. We need fruit. We need also protein source as fish. And then it's not forbidden with meat, sugar, and alcohol, but you should have moderate amounts of that. And this is what you can do. And combine that with manage the other elements we talked about by weight management and sleep management. This is one of the subscriptions of how a good cardiovascular life can look like.
So you need the physical activity, the healthy food. You already mentioned the vitamin K2 because it combined with the omega-3s and the magnesium, it prevents the arterial plaque calcification. Actually, here you can see a computer tomography where a lady was taking a blood thinning medication. That means she was not doing it herself with a healthy lifestyle. But even at age 59 already, she has some serious problems there. But the K2 story we went over, we have seen the magnesium. Higher magnesium means lower calcification. The smooth muscle cell, the vascular smooth muscles on the inside, stick with the function. And we all know it's difficult to get sufficient amount of magnesium in our food. It is very difficult to get K2 in our food. Even D3 is not available. You need sun. But these probably are three ingredients you need to take care about, with supplements added with additional omega-3. Don't take everything with supplements. Eat as healthy as you can. But the most important parts we need to do, and it's still lifestyle, it's still exercise. Get a dog, so the dog has to be walked out. At least you go, 20 minutes won't be sufficient for the dog, but now the dog is going to be your personal trainer. They want to move around, so they're going to take you there.
And this picture also tells us that if we have an animal at home, and I know, Eric, you are the dog expert between the two of us, but then we see that if you do not walk your dog at least 20 minutes a day, you make that dog a very bad service. So therefore, if that is the rule for the dog, why shouldn't that also be the rule for a human being? So therefore, this is more or less the mandatory and easy way. Move around, and 20 minutes a day compared to zero is so much better. So therefore, this is and your good diet, your good dietary supplement, and so on don't work if you don't use your body at all. That
And it
is
says
one of
here,
the main messages.
adjust your activity level to your age and general condition. You don't have to do crazy stuff. And if you're a little bit older, go to the whatever the kennel and pick up some older dog who still has maybe 5 6 years to go from whoever, maybe somebody passed away. Give the dog a good life and the dog will take care about you. It is sometimes people tell me, but you got so many dogs, it takes a lot of time. I says, well, that's good. That's otherwise I would be sitting behind my desk all day long. So it's great to do the, whatever, 5 to 10,000 steps. And you can even add some additional exercises combined with other people, maybe with a trainer, so that person can see if you're doing the exercise. Oh, that goes a little fast. Do the exercise correctly, with other people, stimulate. If you go to a group, it's not that easy to say, not today. It's the same with a dog. Even if it rains, the dog still needs to go out. So physical activity, good health, thinking about it, being with the right people you like is really good for your heart. And that's Hogne, why you develop these products, right?
Yes, yes, and I think the main message from us today is that yes, we have developed products where we can also test ourselves to see that we have sufficient amount of the omega threes. We have the vitamin D3, we have the K2, we have the magnesium and other minerals that is needed for the body. But nothing of these products will work if we don't have the umbrella perspective, seeing that we need to eat healthy, we need to use the body, and that is the important thing for the heart and a good health and a healthy heart. So therefore, we know that by these small extra elements that are in our product, this should help you that are concerned about your health to have an even better life and even more healthy heart. So I guess that is the measure we have. This measures can be given very complicated and very easy, and we have tried to make it in a middle way. But take care of your heart, and then you will have a lovely life.
And this is not medicine. This is just part of your healthy lifestyle. Is it not to treat people, although it may help, but it is just as a daily ritual to stay healthy. Walk your dog, eat healthy, sleep enough, don't watch TV all day long, don't go bananas with the alcohol, and take the right supplements. And therefore, all the hearts watching today will thank you for your attention. So thank you very much for paying attention. Take care about your heart and see you soon. And maybe sooner than you thought if you just hang in there for just a few more seconds, because it's the month of the healthy heart. And, every day of the year should be for your healthy heart, because without it, it won't work. So just to give you a little bit of an extra stimulation, or the people around you, is if you would take this combined, what we call the pure Nordic health, the combination of good quality omega-3, probably the best in the world, with the test, with the K2D3 and the Nordic Energy Booster, will give you an additional K2D3 for the first month, which is a fantastic offer. That means you can even get your better health sooner than with the regular. It often even goes faster. It's important to not take 2 capsules at the same moment. You can take one in the morning, one in the evening, which is fantastic in this time of the year, because typically February is the month where our D3 levels are the lowest of all of the year. So this helps you gain more health even faster. So this is our special offer. Anyone like to work on their heart this month? And if you want to do even a little bit more for your joints, your skin, your health, your beauty, of course, the Valentine's Day couldn't go any nicer than taking care about the outside a little bit as well. But we do it with Nutri Cosmetics. That means you take the supplement that works everywhere, and then the skin shines again. You lose the wrinkles, you get the plumping again, the volume. Fantastic combination. You should use this all year round. Okay, at least the collagen powder. But this is a very special offer, valid until the 14th of this month. So not the entire month, but until the 14th. You'll have a Marine Collagen Premium Plus, which is the big pouch, and a collagen booster combined for 89 euros. And that's some crazy price. So enjoy it. Make the best of your Valentine's Day. If you order in time, maybe you can hand it over on the evening for whoever is joining you there. Thank you for watching. And as always, it's in our nature. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.